How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you was standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride.
Let the light guide your way. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take always leads you home. It's been
Hello, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Matic Hoops. As you just saw, I wanted to pay tribute to the 9 individuals who lost their lives January 26, 2020, in a horrific helicopter crash in California. Among those who lost their lives were Kobe Bryant, aka the Black Mamba, and Gianna Bryant, aka Mambacita. As a basketball fan, this does really hurt. For me, watching Kobe and his fadeaways, watching Kobe in his second act of life, coaching and mentoring the young ladies of Mamba Academy, it was great. As a Boston fan, yes, I rooted against Kobe. But as a fan of the game, I just want to say thank you, Kobe, for the memories. Thank you for the Mamba mentality. And thank you for all that you have done and the motivation that you are giving people now to this day. We love you and we'll always miss you.
Game in his last 4. Yes, that's struggling for him. But here
and 7, shot clock at 4. Smart on Harden. Harden fires up a 3, and he's got another. The basketball. James, 3 from deep.
Zion for the alley-oop to get the scoring started for the Pelicans. Meanwhile,
Hey, what's up, Fully Gang? It is your boy, Fully Matic, and I'm back with another episode of Matic Hoops. On today's episode, we will be talking about James Harden. In my opinion, if James Harden does not win a championship during his career, he ends up just being another B-list star that put up great stats but could never win. Now, when I'm talking about winning, yes, they have been able to get into the playoffs. When he was on OKC, they were a great team. But when you talk about the greats and the all-time greats, and you think about James Harden, yes, he has astronomical numbers. Again, another year that he's putting up stupid numbers as far as points. And then you really think about and sit back and you look at the league right now, and you got Milwaukee, you got Philly, you got the Raptors, you got the Lakers, you got Boston. You have all these teams that are coming up and that have been building and building. And you could say for the last few years that the Rockets have been building to beat the Warriors, which hasn't happened. And so last summer, you get rid of Chris Paul, which he puts you in, I think, the best position to win an NBA championship, but they couldn't get it done. Chris Paul, 2 years ago, Chris Paul goes down in game 5 or 6 of the Western Conference Finals, and they couldn't win another game, and they were up in the series against the Warriors. I feel as if that was their best chance. And then last year, they still couldn't get it done. And so this year, they add Russell Westbrook, who is Mr. Triple-Double, but again, it's another player who hasn't been able to win on his own, and then you bring 2 players that haven't been able to win on their own, and are they going to be able to win together? Another question is, with the Rockets getting rid of Clint Capella, who's been a key part of their success for the last few years, and them going small, they got PJ Tucker as a center. And so like all the teams that I just mentioned, most of the teams that I just mentioned, are they going to be able to do anything inside against Chris Paul, against a big? Yes, they got the shooting. Yes, they have Russ to take it to the lane. Yes, they got James Harden to take it to the lane. But it's really, are they going to be able to do anything else in the playoffs, get to the Western Conference Finals? For me, personally, I don't think they'll do it this year. They might do it next year, serve a little better, but I just can't see in what way, unless they go on a run, which, they can go on a run, but can they sustain that for years and years to come? That's what it's about. It's about winning a championship. But then when you talk about the greatest players of all time, yes, James Harden is going to go down as one of the best offensive players, but he's not going to go down as one of the greatest players to play in the NBA if he doesn't get a championship. I feel as if, again, with Russ, his talent, and with James's talent, they're a great team. They got great talent, but can they win? The question of whether or not the Rockets and James Harden can win, and where James Harden's place in the greatest of all time conversation, will only be answered by time. I have a special guest with me who asked me a question, the specific question of where does James Harden fall in the rank of all-time greats if he does not win a championship? Let's have him ask that question. Check it out. Okay, so we have Nathan Broaders here, my big brother.
What's up?
We're going to talk some basketball. A few weeks ago, you had asked me a question about the Rockets, and so ask me that question again.
If James Harden doesn't win a ring this year, at this point in his career, is he going to go out like Charles Barkley?
And that meaning if he goes out like Charles Barkley, he doesn't have a ring. He's a good player, but he's never going to be considered one of the greatest of all time.
Right, and honestly, part of me thinking that is that all of the guys that we consider to be the greatest of all time were game changers on both sides of the ball. James is a great offensive player, but he doesn't really give you the defensive splash plays that the greats traditionally do. LeBron gives you a defensive splash play every single game. Michael did, Kobe did, Shaq did, Hakeem did, Tim Duncan did. You know what I mean? I just think to go down in that class of guys, that's part of what you have to bring to the game.
So if he improved his defense a little bit over the next, let's say, 5 years, that would be a nice little, time that he can improve really and show people that he did improve. And it's not just, a 1 year thing or whatnot. Can he up his just status at that point in time?
I think the fans will respect it, but where will he be in his prime at that point?
Yeah, and
you know what I mean?
Does it still come down to at that point, is he gonna get a ring? Will he ever get a ring?
Will he get a ring? It's all about rings. LeBron has 3 of them things. And
he does, and everybody always compares LeBron to Michael, he doesn't have 6.
You know what I mean? So if you don't have 1, you know what I mean? There's a lot of guys who have 1 who we have a hard time putting up there.
Right. Okay. Okay, and so let me ask you this question as far as the Rockets constructed right now versus what they were last year with Chris Paul, or let's just say the last few years with Chris Paul. Do you think they did take somewhat of a drop off, just basketball knowledge, basketball talent wise, with bringing in Russell Westbrook? I essentially call it the same team, just bringing in Russell Westbrook.
Right. I mean, it's a trade-off. I think that Chris Paul brings you great leadership. You know what I mean? He's one of the best playmakers, period, in NBA history, one of the best point guards, period. But I don't think that he really meshed well with some of the personalities there. And also, I mean, he's getting up there in years, you know what I mean? Now, here's the thing. Russell Westbrook is a great player. I don't think he can control the offense in the same way. I think that the fact that he hasn't really developed a jump shot has held him back from, taking that next step forward in his career.
Right.
And Chris Paul doesn't shoot a ton of them.
Right.
But a decent percentage of them go in when
they go in. And if you did watch the All-Star game, you saw Chris Paul was one of the, catalysts and just anchors for Team LeBron to win that game. And so I respect that. And I agree with that 100%. I don't feel as if this team that the Rockets have this year is better than the team that they had over the last couple of years. And yes, they'll make it to the playoffs. They possibly will win a series, but I just don't feel as if James Harden and Russell Westbrook have enough to win a title, and especially with them trading away Clint Capella and going small, unless they add somebody else bigger. I don't know how they can, face up against even a Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons.
See, and that's a conversation too, because we talked a lot over the years about how the league's going small, but most of the best teams are still anchored by big men who can dominate on the inside. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even the Bucks. I mean, Giannis is their big man who can dominate inside.
Right. And he's not even the biggest man on that team.
I mean, right. And I mean, if you talk about your Embiid, your guys like Sabonis, Anthony Davis. I mean, these are guys who are really gonna bang you down low. Bam Adebayo, another young big man who could really do some damage down low. Right. If you don't have guys to compete with that, it's gonna hurt you in the playoffs whenever you really have to grind to play in the half court.
That is real. And we will see. Time will tell on the Rockets. Thank you for joining us, Nate. We'll see you next time.
Deuces.
Okay, as you see, it will be a lot, or at least James Harden has some work to do. He at least needs one championship, if not multiple championships, to go down as one of the greatest players to play the game. Thank you for watching. Please hit that like button and subscribe, and also comment for what you feel James Harden is or where he would go down in the list of all-time great NBA players, that is. Thank you again for watching. I'm Fully Matic, and I'm out. Peace.